If you've ever had an aha moment, when suddenly a solution to a problem or a creative idea suddenly came to you, and you thought, hey, I could do that. You know how that moment of thought changed your life dramatically for the better. But for children surviving poverty and commercial exploitation, the realm of creative problem solving isn't easily accessed. As advocates, we work to change how children think about and relate to personally exploitive situations. We challenge any assumption that poverty and exploitation are inevitable aspects of their lives and future. We know that when they can imagine something better for themselves, they suddenly have access to new and better choices. Most of these children experience trauma at a very early age, creating an enormous blind spot for them, so they are not able to see solutions. It may appear that life is just that way, just unfair. We can all agree that for children facing violent circumstances such as poverty and exploitation, life really is unfair. But what does this assumption that life isn't fair create? That life is meant to be survived or endured? That there is nothing that can be solved? All thought of life's opportunity or optimism are shut off. Inside this mindset, we see behaviors like compliance, numbing, and dependency on people struggling with compulsive predatory behaviors, all weathering the storm of life. We know that these behaviors are just a response to thinking that life is always going to be difficult, and it is to be endured rather than enjoyed. We encourage them to think better thoughts. And when they have a compelling future in mind, it is much easier for them to make different choices. Do we as advocates for exploited children have our own blind spots that keep us from having the kind of impact we are capable of? Are we trying to survive or endure the epidemic of human trafficking? Are we feverishly trying to protect victims from violent and increasingly elusive predators while assuming exploitation and violence are inevitable? What if we were to challenge these assumptions? We have a great example in our own history of how much progress we can make when we challenge limiting assumptions. Martin Luther King Jr. identified the absurdity in thinking that Black people in America should be treated differently simply by virtue of their race. Rather than thinking of himself as a victim or vilifying white people, he reflected back to the nation a vision of equality at a time when we could not see it for ourselves. He vividly depicted a world for us where people could be judged on their character rather than on the color of their skin. He described what it would look like, what our children would be doing, and even singing. This inspired new actions, like sitting on a bus where you wanted to sit, rather than following laws that exist only in a mindset of inequality. People were thinking and acting outside of the box. And these new perceptions, strategies, and behaviors that were inspired by Dr. King made a huge difference in our nation. Can we use the genius of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as a template to inspire the kind of change that we would like to see in the world? Can we envision a compelling future, free of the human rights abuses and of poverty and exploitation? That vision would require us to believe that both victims and predators are equally capable of profound human progress. Just as in Dr. King's experience, it does not help bring about the changes we are looking for when we vilify anyone. Dr. King reframed the issue of racial inequality from a fight for civil rights into a demand for equality. There is nothing more effective in creating social change than holding people firmly accountable for their behavior, while simultaneously holding them in the highest esteem in our minds and hearts. Can we take this straight from Dr. King's playbook and reframe the issue of exploitation and poverty from a fight to protect victims against predators into a demand for hope and human dignity? We should always reflect back, both to the children we advocate for and to our population of exploiters and buyers, that they are loved, they are powerful, and capable of critical thinking and problem solving, in spite of what we are presently witnessing from them. This is how love transforms our lives. This illumination of thought is how we access the realm of creative problem solving that will dramatically change all our lives for the better. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.